Well, good morning, Central Georgia. Welcome to the Weather Impact Extended Forecast. I'm meteorologist David Guerrero, filling in for Alex Pry, who actually went home sick, unfortunately, and he will be out tomorrow morning as well. So Ansley Parker, she's going to be filling in throughout all of the morning shows, and she'll be also doing the extended stream tomorrow morning as well. But in terms of the weather, we haven't seen much change overall since the start of the week. We had last Saturday's cold front that brought in some storms and some showers throughout the afternoon and evening, and then it also brought in drier air. So that's the main reason why we've been feeling mighty fine throughout the week, and we can see that with all the 4 sky cameras across Central Georgia. Barely any clouds in the sky. We can see downtown Macon, mostly sunny, just pure blue. Same thing with Dublin, showing off actually a textbook blue color on the sky. The only places with clouds that are within the 4 sky cameras across Central Georgia is Warner Robins. They have tall, wispy clouds, alto cirrus clouds. Same thing is true for Perry. So this is all throughout Houston County. But the majority of Central Georgia is mostly clear at the current moment. And the current number right now in Warner Robins, 71 degrees. It feels like 71. Winds are not bad. Winds are coming from the north at 5 miles per hour. But it's the direction that tells a major story, and I'll tell you why. Here's a look at the headlines. The morning will continue to stay cool. We keep seeing temperatures into the mid to upper 50s, which is well below average. And for reference, this is around 10 degrees below average at this time of year. Daytime highs go up some. It's still considered below average. We'll have daytime highs still into the mid to upper 80s, but it's only going to go up by a couple of degrees. But this also indicates an overall trend that we're gradually warming up as we get into the end of the week. We could potentially see the lower 90s by next week. So I'll show you that with more detail coming up as well. Overall, the rain chances remain low. We're under the influence of high pressure. And when you're under the influence of high pressure, that really lowers the rain chances as the air just sinks rather than rises. And you need rising air to cause those pop-up showers and storms that we typically see in the summertime. So without that, we generally have extremely dry weather at that time. So if we look at yesterday's almanac, we were once again below average in terms of temperatures, and we've been below average all throughout the week. So we look at the official highs yesterday, 83 degrees, around 6 degrees below average. And of course, the main story yesterday was how cool it was. Our morning lows in the Macon airport around the lower 50s. That's something that we typically see late in the fall time. I remember my girlfriend yesterday morning, she told me that she was really feeling cold and that she brought a sweater and a jacket to work, and she wore it for the majority of the morning. And I think that was also the case for a lot of Central Georgians out there, as this cold, or not cold, cool air seemingly came out of nowhere. But there is a reasoning behind this cool air, as it all depends on that north winds bringing that cool air from the north. So that's the reason why we were below average in terms of afternoon highs and morning lows. Now, if we look at what happened yesterday in terms of the overall weather in the skies, once again, it was similar to what we've been experiencing all throughout the week, mostly sunny weather. And here's an image by David Hamlin. He captured this sunset or actually it wasn't a sunset. This image came right around 9:44 at night. So this is actually the moon. We had a full moon last Sunday. It was the corn moon, but this resembles a full moon, and it's below in the horizon behind some tall wispy clouds, but it's still going through the cloud cover. So overall, a beautiful night was experienced last night. So thank you very much, David, for that image. And once again, we're going to experience conditions just like yesterday afternoon and yesterday evening and night, because that satellite radar is going to stay completely quiet. We're not expecting anything in terms of blips or any showers in the picture. And this is a similar story for the majority of the southeast. Noticed a couple of spotty showers just for North Alabama, and we also have some showers down towards the south in South Florida and a couple of showers in North Carolina, but the majority of the southeast is dry at the moment. And the reason behind this is because of high pressure. High pressure is just the name of the game, and it's the reason why we are staying quiet all throughout the southeast. The showers in Florida, that's due to a stationary boundary due to a low pressure system off of the Atlantic coast. It's the same thing driving moisture for North Carolina and parts of the eastern coast of Virginia. So that's why we have those spotty showers. But overall, this high pressure system bringing in drier air, also bringing in that cooler air. So it's taking away those ingredients for those pop-up showers and storms that we have with the heat of the day. It's also causing the air to sink, causing the air to really deplete itself from any of those ingredients needed for showers and storms. And we can see that high pressure system circulation. The center of it is in North Alabama, but it's causing the northerly winds. So we're seeing cooler stuff as we're within the path of the northerly wind. So we're seeing temperatures for the majority of central Georgia into the lower 70s, warmer stuff down to the south in Jacksonville and Panama City. We do have some 80s in South Florida. If we look at the bigger picture all throughout Georgia, throughout the Peach State, cooler stuff within the mountains in the northern side of the state. We also have upper 60s in Athens. And then for the majority of Georgia, once again, lower to mid 70s. Of course, in central Georgia, Augusta seeing the lower 70s, mid 70s in Vidalia, mid 70s in Atlanta as well. Albany seeing mid 70s. And then once we get to the south, as I mentioned, after we saw that southeasterly temperature graphic from the last graphic, the warmer stuff is confined along the Florida and the Georgia border. Locally, we don't have any 60s anymore. So I saw this graphic as I was preparing for the stream 20 minutes ago, and I did see some 60s off towards our west, but we are warming up now in the past 30 minutes. Now all of central Georgia are within the lower to mid 70s. So we are seeing consistency all across the Peach State. Now, if we compare this to 24 hours ago, remember the morning low yesterday, 53 degrees. We did have a little bit higher morning lows earlier today, but we were still within the mid to upper 50s. So we do have a temperature change as we compare this to yesterday, seeing temperatures in terms of the difference as low as 1 degree down to the south in Chris County. But if we move towards the north, the temperature difference increases to around 4 to 5 degrees different than if we compare it to yesterday. Now, hour by hour, we're going to continue to warm up. Right now, we're in the lower to mid 70s. By noon, we should be into the upper 70s, and I can see some places, especially for the most southern counties, within the lower 80s. Then throughout the afternoon, we'll continuously warm up to the mid 80s, and our afternoon highs should once again be around the mid 80s, 86 degrees to be exact. Now, one thing that's of course helping us is the dry air. Right now, we're seeing dew point values into the lower to mid 60s, which once again is considered not bad on the scale. We do also have drier air towards the east. So we're seeing Wrightsville having dew point values into the upper 50s. Same thing for Swainsboro. Vidalia still in the lower 60s. Eastman 58 degrees in terms of dew point temperatures, 57 degrees in terms of dew point temperatures in McRae. So all in all, it is feeling very pleasant in terms of the quality or the amount of moisture that there is in the air, which takes us away from the muggy weather that was actually present last week. Now, the feels like temperatures remain unaffected for the most part. We do have some 80s on the board, especially Unadilla and in McRae, but all in all, we're not seeing much impact from the humidity, as it is mostly dry outside. Heat index values show that the feels like temperatures are going to resemble our actual temperatures. And once again, I mentioned that our afternoon high should be into the mid 80s, 86 degrees to be exact. And we're not expecting much change from that in terms of feels like temperatures. Wind gusts are calm at the moment. We had some occasional breezes yesterday. So we had a 15-mile-per-hour breeze yesterday throughout the afternoon. Right now, it's calm in Macon, and we are seeing a sustained wind all throughout central Georgia around 5 to 8 miles per hour, but it's feeling negligible as compared to the overall impact that this wind is having. So today, once again, another chilly morning, and we felt that all throughout the morning with temperatures into the mid to upper 50s. And then throughout the day, throughout the afternoon, it should be very similar to yesterday. Occasional wispy cirrus clouds off in the distance, but it should be mostly sunny. And our afternoon high should be around the mid 80s, 86 degrees to be exact, which is still considered below average for this time of year, and we could see a gust of up to 15 miles per hour. So looking at the future view, once again, not showing anything. Maybe a high altitude cloud could be present, especially for the southeastern counties, but in terms of the rain, not seeing any blips. We do see one blip that shows up, and it actually doesn't show up anymore. It showed up 20 minutes ago, but we did see one singular tiny blip for places such as Jasper and Putnam County, but that's gone. That's out the window. So it's looking like it's going to be a dry day today, mostly sunny. A couple of clouds could be possible late at night. Tomorrow morning, similar to what we're experiencing right now, absolutely nothing. A great view of the sunrise is likely. Then tomorrow afternoon, could see a couple of sprinkles, isolated showers at most. And the most that we'll see in terms of the rain chance is a 10% chance of rain, but still should be mostly sunny all throughout the day. Saturday, same thing, mostly sunny throughout the morning, and then the same thing is true throughout the afternoon and evening. So rain is not going to play any part in terms of hindering any afternoon or outdoor plans for your upcoming weekend. You should be good to go. All in all, we should have a fantastic weekend ahead. Here's a look at another model. This is the high resolution model, and it'll show once again the exact thing, absolutely nothing, just an occasional cloud here or there throughout the morning or the afternoon, but it should still be mostly clear and dry throughout the next couple of days. So once again, here's the recap. 10% chance of rain at most for the next 3 days. I'd say the rain chances are a little higher for tomorrow, but what I mean by a higher rain chances is a higher chance of seeing a couple of drops. We're not expecting a downpour or a steady shower for the near future. And in terms of temperatures, we are going to start to gradually warm, especially for the morning lows and the afternoon highs. Notice tomorrow morning we should be back into the lower 60s in terms of the morning lows, and then afternoon highs should be once again into the upper 80s, closer to around average for this time of year. And a little bit of a sneak peek, I'll show you this graphic in the next couple of graphics. We are expecting us to return back to the lower 90s, so I'll show you that coming up. Here's a look at the long-range future view. Same thing. That high-pressure system is just going to continue to park itself around Tennessee or Kentucky, and that's going to once again continue to influence us weather-wise. It will keep us dry for the most part for the majority of the next 7 days. A couple of small blips are possible. It's showing up by the GFS model for Monday evening, but once again, mainly dry there, only a 10% chance of rain. Clearing up Tuesday. And then Wednesday, still looking at the same thing, mostly clear weather, especially by the middle of next week. Now here's the graphic that I've been mentioning so many times throughout this stream. The warm up that we are expecting, we saw that 3-day graphic seeing us warm up to the upper 80s, still technically below average for this time of year throughout the weekend. Then as we get officially into next week, so starting on Sunday, seeing 88 degrees, and then lower 90s are going to be present for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So that'll technically be a little bit above average, but the humidity is still going to stay steady. So we're not going to see muggy weather or really insane humidity that will drive our feels-like temperatures, but I do expect feels-like temperatures in some spots to be within the mid-90s for much of next week. So morning lows will also continue to stay cool. We'll still stay below average. I don't think we'll be as cool as what we've been experiencing today and yesterday, but notice tomorrow into the lower 60s, and then we'll continue to stay into the lower 60s as we get into the weekend and into the start of the work week. So that's still way below average for this time of year. And then I've been mentioning yesterday we've had an occasional gust of up to 15 miles per hour. That's still possible today, and we'll continue to see once again for later this afternoon and evening occasional gusts. And then for tomorrow morning, winds should be negligible and calm. And then it should be a little bit more windy tomorrow afternoon. This will be mainly for the southeastern county, so Telfair, Wheeler, Montgomery County, Dodge County. Could see a gust of up to 15 to 20 miles per hour as shown by this graphic. And Saturday showing the same thing. And this once again is mostly for the southeastern counties of central Georgia, counties south of I-16 and east of I-75 as well. Notice Vidalia seeing values up to 22 miles per hour. So it could get a little breezy for this weekend, but it's not going to be extremely gusty. We're not expecting a wind advisory anytime soon. In terms of the humidity, we're still expecting very dry weather throughout the overnight. We'll start to see dry weather for the northern counties. And then for tomorrow afternoon, humidity increases by a touch, but still notice not bad on the scale. We're not seeing any green stuff on the board, which is good. Then we get into Saturday, dry air will start to surge in and we'll start to see a decrease in humidity. And then on Sunday, that's when really we'll start to see a real depletion of humidity. Notice we'll start to get into bone dry levels. So good stuff, especially in terms of our feels like temperatures for the start of the new week. Now, in terms of the tropics, yesterday was peak for our tropic season, and we do now have an area of development off of the coast of Africa. Originally yesterday morning we'd had nothing, and we actually had nothing for much of this week. Now we have a 30% chance of development of this low pressure area for the next 7 days. Now this is due to another tropical wave that's forecasted to move towards the west through the central Atlantic basin, and this happens this is a common occurrence all throughout tropic season. Now the thing that is playing into our favor is that we're starting to enter a period, a zone, we're starting to get closer to fall. That's when large-scale patterns are more prevalent. And these large-scale patterns, that's the reason why tropic season has been so quiet for us, because we've been having cold fronts that have been pushing these storms off towards the Atlantic, giving us minimal impacts for the continental United States. Now, these cold fronts are going to become more common as we get into the fall season. So that's really good in terms of the Atlantic, but our attention now is going to be driven into the Gulf. That's where we'll start to see storms develop and brew, and those are the areas where we really have to keep a close eye, especially as we get into the end of September and in October. So here's a recap once again. Peak of the season, September 10th. That was yesterday. We do have one area of development off the central Atlantic basin. Still relatively low chances as of right now, and it's still way too early to determine a given path, but it's looking more and more likely that this will follow the path of the other storms, such as Erin and Fernand, where it's going to curve northward and will be driven away from the continental United States due to the constant amount of cold fronts. Now, once we get into September, the activity will start to go down. However, it's still possible. We had Helene that happened late September, and once again, it came through from the Caribbean and through the Gulf, and it went northward and went through Georgia. So the Gulf is going to be a major area where we will keep a closer eye on for any potential development. Here are the names that are on the table for the rest of the season. Our next named storm will be Gabrielle, and then the letter H storm will be Humberto. Of course, the letter H storm from last year was Hurricane Helene. And then we'll get into Imelda and Jerry, and then Karen. Now, in terms of the 7-day forecast, looking very consistent for the next 7 days. A 10% chance of rain is given. It will be mainly dry. Temperatures will gradually warm up as we get into the weekend, and then by the start of next week, especially the start of the next work week, should be into the lower 90s. Morning lows will continue to stay cool. We'll warm up to the lower 60s tomorrow, but it'll still be considered way below average for this time of year. So all in all, looking still like a great 7-day forecast ahead.